morning, students. Today our topic of discussion is on macrolides, ketolides, lincosamides, oxazolidinones and other antibiotics. So amongst the miscellaneous antibiotics, few will discuss today. Rest I'll discuss in the next class. So let's see what are the drugs that come under these groups. Macrolides, erythromycin, roxithromycin, clarithromycin and azithromycin. The ones which I have highlighted in yellow color, these are the drugs which are more important. Lincosamides, lincomycin and clindamycin. Ketolides, telithromycin and cethromycin. Oxazolidinones, linezolid, tadazolid, torazolid and tadazolid. Streptogramins, pristinamycin, which is a combination of quinupristin and dalfopristin. So once again, macrolides, erythromycin, roxithromycin, clarithromycin and azithromycin. Lincosamides, lincomycin and clindamycin. Ketolides, telithromycin and cethromycin. Oxazolidinones, linezolid, tadazolid, torazolid and tadazolid. Streptogramins, pristinamycin, quinupristin and dalfopristin. So let's start with macrolides. So these are the 4 drugs which come under macrolides: erythromycin, roxithromycin, clarithromycin, azithromycin and also spiromycin. So only one use is there for spiromycin. Erythromycin, see, it was discovered from the metabolic products of, it was derived from the metabolic products of Streptomyces erythraeus. Okay, this is the prototype drug here, erythromycin. So we will discuss about that in detail. Then clarithromycin and azithromycin are semi-synthetic derivatives of erythromycin. Then we have spiromycin, which is obtained from Streptomyces ambifaciens. Okay. So why are they called macrolides? So in their structure, they have a macrocyclic lactone ring to which are attached one or more sugars. Okay. So let us compare the difference in structure between erythromycin, clarithromycin and azithromycin. See, clarithromycin differs from erythromycin as methylation occurs at the hydroxyl group near position 6. See, in spite of OH, it will be here OCH3. Then azithromycin, see, we have a nitrogen atom here. So it is an addition of nitrogen atom in the lactone ring. Okay. So these are the differences in the, see, almost they are same, but just minor differences between structures of erythromycin, clarithromycin and azithromycin. So mechanism of action. So in order to understand the mechanism of action of macrolides, so let us have a quick recap of the bacterial protein synthesis. So erythromycin, it is bacteriostatic at low concentration and cidal at high concentration. I hope you know what they mean. Static is preventing their multiplication, whereas cidal is killing the bacteria. So gram-positive organisms are highly susceptible because they allow the active transport of macrolides into the bacteria. Erythromycin acts by inhibiting bacterial protein synthesis. So let us know the basic steps which occur in bacterial protein synthesis. So here if you see, this is the formation of the initiation complex here. The 50S ribosomal subunit comes and binds to the 30S ribosomal subunit. So that forms the 70S ribosomal subunit. So now this subunit, it moves ahead on the mRNA strand reading the successive codons of the mRNA. So now these codons of mRNA, they pass along the ribosome from A site to the P site. There are 2 sites, the P site, peptidyl site and the A site, that is the acceptor site. So the codons on the mRNA, they move from the A site to the P site. Now this is the initiation complex. Now here in the P site, we have a transfer RNA with an already existing amino acid chain. So now what happens a new TR transfer RNA with a new amino acid comes and attaches to the A site. See, you can see here, a tRNA has come and attached by means of complementary base pairing to the codon on the mRNA. It has a new amino acid 4 attached to it. The next step is the peptidyl chain that is present on the tRNA at the P site, it gets transferred to the amino acid present on the tRNA at the A site. See here, the peptidyl chain, it has been transferred from the tRNA at the P site to the amino acid attached to the tRNA at the A site. So now this step we call it as transpeptidation because there has been the transfer of peptidyl chain. Now here the tRNA is ejected from the P site. See, you can see the tRNA that is leaving. So now what happens? The tRNA that is present at the A site is transferred to the P site along with the amino acid chain attached to it. So now the A site is vacant here and it is ready to accept a new tRNA with a new amino acid. Now this step we call it as translocation. See, the tRNA has translocated from the A site to the P site. So now what happens simultaneously when this translocation is occurring? The ribosomal unit, it moves ahead one codon on the mRNA strand. See here. Here if you can see, there are 2 codons here. So now the ribosome has moved ahead on the mRNA strand. So you have only 1 codon left here. So with this you can understand that the ribosome is moving ahead on the mRNA strand to read the new codon. So this process, it continues and then the protein synthesis occurs in the bacteria. So this is a normal mechanism. Now how do macrolides act? They come and bind to the P site. They come and bind to the P site of the 50S ribosomal subunit and prevent the translocation step to occur. So thereby the peptidyl chain is inhibited in the middle. So the protein synthesis does not occur. See, is it clear? The macrolides, they come and bind to the P site of the 50S ribosomal subunit, preventing the translocation of the tRNA from the A site to the P site. So the polypeptide chain is abruptly inhibited. Then coming to resistance. So there occurs a mutation in the 50S ribosomal subunit. So there is a mutation in the ERM gene that results in the formation of a altered 50S ribosomal subunit. Now when the 50S ribosomal subunit is altered, the macrolide can no longer bind to the 50S ribosomal subunit and that leads to repulsion and efflux of the antibiotic. So what is the antimicrobial spectrum? So this has a very wide spectrum. Erythromycin macrolides have a very wide spectrum. So they act on gram-positive cocci and bacilli, gram-negative cocci and bacilli, then acid-fast bacilli, Mycobacterium avium complex, Mycobacterium leprae, then spirochetes like Treponema pallidum, miscellaneous organisms like Chlamydia trachomatis, Chlamydia pneumoniae, Chlamydia psittaci. See, I have not typed chlamydia again and again. So it's Chlamydia trachomatis, Chlamydia pneumonia, and Chlamydia psittaci. Then Mycoplasma pneumoniae and Ureaplasma ureolyticum. This is the antimicrobial spectrum. Coming to pharmacokinetics, the erythromycin, it is destroyed by gastric juice. So we have enteric formulations, enteric coated preparations are available, and food interferes with the absorption. So that is seen less with ester forms of erythromycin, like erythromycin estolate. So that is more preferred because it overcomes these problems of being destroyed by the gastric juice or food interfering with its absorption. So you prefer giving erythromycin estolate. T-half is 1.5 hours and it is widely distributed. And we can see therapeutic concentrations are attained in mainly the tonsillar tissue, then middle ear fluid, lungs, and prostatic tissue. It is metabolized in the liver and excreted in the bile. So important point you have to remember is it is not excreted in the urine. So it does not need dose adjustment in renal failure. Then coming to roxithromycin and clarithromycin, they are semi-synthetic derivatives of erythromycin. Then food does not interfere with their absorption. These are long acting. See, erythromycin, it is given as a QID dose, okay, 4 times a day. Now, these are longer acting, so they can be given twice daily, roxithromycin and clarithromycin. Then we have clarithromycin is metabolized in the liver to 14-hydroxyclarithromycin. It's metabolite. This is equally active as the parent drug, and both of the products, the main parent drug as well as the metabolite, are excreted through the kidney. So remember that clarithromycin is the only drug that needs dose adjustment in renal failure because it is excreted through the kidney. Then azithromycin, it is more acid stable. Then it is given, here the food interferes with its absorption. So it is given either 1 hour before or 2 hours later we take the food. Then it is widely distributed again. And even for this, therapeutic concentrations are attained in the prostatic fluid, the genitals, and the lungs. Okay. T half is 68 hours. So this is the longest acting drug amongst the macrolides. So it is given once daily. So you must be very familiar with azithromycin. You might be taking it whenever you have a sore throat. So then what is the dose you take? That is OD dose for 5 days. It is also metabolized in the liver and excreted in the bile, so it does not require adjustment in renal failure. Dose adjustment in renal failure is not needed. Then this exhibits post-antibiotic effect. See, post-antibiotic effect, it is like the inhibition of the bacterial growth in the body even when the drug is not there. So once you give the drug and the drug has been excreted, even then later the bacterial growth is inhibited in the body. That is what we call the post-antibiotic effect. Then therapeutic uses of erythromycin. It's the first choice. See, there are first choice, second choice, okay, drugs. So first choice drug mainly for atypical pneumonia, whooping cough, and eradication of Corynebacterium diphtheriae from the pharyngeal carrier. So these are the first choice uses: atypical pneumonia, whooping cough, eradication of Corynebacterium diphtheriae from the pharyngeal carriers. Then second choice, Campylobacter gastroenteritis, cancroid due to Haemophilus ducrani. So here you give a very high dose of 2 grams per day for 7 days. Then chlamydial conjunctivitis and urethritis. Then Legionnaire's pneumonia. See here, so there are 3 C's here: Campylobacter gastroenteritis, cancroid due to Haemophilus ducrani, chlamydial conjunctivitis and urethritis, then Legionnaire's pneumonia. Dose is 250 mg 6 hourly, but for cancroid due to Haemophilus ducrani, you give a high dose of 2 grams per day for 7 days. Otherwise, the dose is normally 250 mg 6 hourly. The non-chemotherapeutic use. So apart from these use on antimicrobial, apart from its antimicrobial use, it has a non-chemotherapeutic use. So that is mainly because of its other effects like anti-inflammatory action. Then it acts as an agonist at the motilin receptor on the intestinal smooth muscle, gastric smooth muscle. So rheumatoid arthritis, cystic fibrosis, chronic sinusitis and asthma. So these, it can be used for these conditions because it has an anti-inflammatory effect. Now it acts as a motilin receptor agonist. So it improves gastric, it can be used for improving gastric emptying in diabetic gastroparesis. So in diabetic patients, gastric movement is slowed down. So you can improve the gastric emptying in diabetic gastroparesis. Then roxithromycin, its uses are almost similar to erythromycin, but it is more preferred in treating otitis media, sinusitis, pneumonia caused by Moraxella catarrhalis and pneumonia caused by Legionella. The dose of roxithromycin, so as we have discussed, it is a BD dose, so 150 mg at 12 hourly. Then coming to clarithromycin, so clarithromycin and azithromycin, we have more uses, so just have to read them more, many number of times. So clarithromycin, it is used in MAC. MAC is Mycobacterium avium complex. This is it's an infection caused by Mycobacterium avium and Mycobacterium intracellular. So this we see in the late stages of AIDS where we see disseminated disease. So here we prefer giving clarithromycin along with ethambutol. So clarithromycin 500 mg BD plus ethambutol 15 mg OD. Then clarithromycin and minocycline can also be used to treat lepromatous leprosy. Then it is used in triple regimen for treating peptic ulcer. So the dose is here clarithromycin 500 mg plus omeprazole 20 mg plus amoxicillin 1 gram BD for 14 days. Then it can be used to treat Toxoplasma encephalitis caused by Toxoplasma gondii and chronic bronchitis caused by Haemophilus influenza. Dose of clarithromycin is 200 to 500 mg BD. So here we give it BD again. So it is used mainly to treat MAC, lepromatous leprosy, peptic ulcer, Toxoplasma encephalitis and chronic bronchitis. Dose for MAC is clarithromycin 500 mg BD plus ethambutol 15 mg OD. Then lepromatous leprosy, give it along with minocycline. For peptic ulcer, clarithromycin 500 mg plus omeprazole 20 mg plus amoxicillin 1 gram BD dose for 14 days. Then as far as you know, azithromycin you take it for sore throat or throat infection. But there are a wide variety of uses for erythromycin and it is very important. So let us see the uses one by one. So 1 gram is effective in chlamydial, cervicitis and urethritis. 500 mg for suppression of treatment of infections caused by MAC in AIDS, Mycobacterium avium complex in AIDS. Then for community acquired pneumonia, 500 mg loading dose followed by 250 mg once daily for next 4 days. Then Legionnaire's pneumonia, 500 mg OD, oral or IV for 2 weeks. Then we use it in donovanosis caused by Calymatobacterium granulomatis, 500 mg OD for 7 days. Cancroid, a single dose of 1 gram is highly curative. 500 mg per day for 3 days in periapical abscess. Then 500 mg per day for 3 days for most infections. So nowadays we prefer taking it for 5 days. So once again, so 1 gram is effective in chlamydia, cervicitis and urethritis. 500 mg for MAC in AIDS. For community acquired pneumonia, a loading dose of 500 mg followed by 250 mg once daily for next 4 days. So it's a high dose here. Legionnaire's pneumonia, 500 mg OD, oral or IV for 2 weeks. In donovanosis, 500 mg for 7 days, 500 mg OD for 7 days. Cancroid, single dose 1 gram, highly curative. 500 mg per day for 3 days in periapical abscess and 500 mg per day for 3 days for most infections. Then spiromycin, its only use is preventing transplacental transfer of toxoplasmosis. So limit the transplacental transfer of toxoplasmosis. So the dose here is 3 weeks course. So give it for 3 weeks, 3 million units, 2 to 3 times a day. Okay, 2 to 3 million units, 2 to 3 times a day for 3 weeks. And repeat it after 2 weeks till delivery. So you give a gap of 2 weeks and then again repeat a 3 weeks course, a gap of 2 weeks. So you continue that till delivery. Then for other indications, it is 6 million units per day for 5 days. So adverse effects are hypersensitivity. So this is mainly seen with erythromycin estrelate, less with other macrolides and other antibiotics. Then we have cholestatic hepatitis. So this is also common with erythromycin estrelate. This is also because of hypersensitivity reaction to the salt. Then we have severe epigastric cramps because it is a mortalin receptor agonist. It is stimulating the gastric smooth muscle. So there will be gastric cramps. Ototoxic. See, erythromycin in a dose when it exceeds 4 grams per day, then it is ototoxic, or tinnitus can be seen even with therapeutic doses of azithromycin when given for about 5 days or more. Then IV administration of erythromycin is associated with thrombophlebitis. So hypersensitivity, cholestatic hepatitis, severe epigastric cramps, ototoxic, IV administration of erythromycin is associated with thrombophlebitis. Then coming to drug interactions, erythromycin and clarithromycin have more drug interactions compared to azithromycin because they inhibit CYP3A4 enzyme. So we have discussed this many times. Whenever a certain drug is either inhibiting or inducing CYP3A4 isoenzyme, that will result in a number of drug interactions. So erythromycin and clarithromycin here, they exhibit, they inhibit CYP3A4 isoenzyme, whereas azithromycin, it does not inhibit. Macrolides, they also decrease digoxin metabolism and increase its bioavailability. So that is because they inhibit the microbial flora that metabolize digoxin. So it decreases its metabolism and it increases its bioavailability. So that is about macrolides. Then rest of the antibiotics, there nothing more is there to discuss about them. They are very less. And important amongst these are oxazolidinones, such as the linezolid, ridazolit, torresolid. Okay, let's discuss them one by one. So lincosamides, so in this group, in this family, the drugs which come under this family are lincomycin and clindamycin. So here clindamycin is important, and again you must have heard about it more commonly. Mechanism of action is similar to macrolides, so no need to discuss it again. Then resistance, alteration of the 50S ribosomal subunit by adenine methylation and mutation of the 50S ribosomal protein. So there is an alteration by adenine methylation and mutation of the 50S ribosomal subunit, which decreases the binding of the drug to the bacteria. And drug inactivation, directly inactivating the drug by a plasmid mediated enzyme adenine transferase. So these are the resistance mechanisms. What is this spectrum? So they cover streptococci, pneumococci except enterococci, and staphylococci except MRSA. So this you need to remember. They are not useful against MRSA. Streptococci, pneumococci except enterococci, and staphylococci. Then it acts on anaerobes like Bacteroides fragilis and Clostridium except Clostridium difficile. Then it is highly effective against Corynebacterium acne, Toxoplasma gondii, and Pneumocystis carinii. Okay. Pharmacokinetics, it is well absorbed, widely distributed in the body. It is metabolized in the liver and excreted in bile as well as in the urine. So now if you know the antimicrobial spectrum, it is easy for you to write the clinical uses. So it is used for anaerobic infections caused by Bacteroides fragilis and staphylococcal and streptococcal infections. Then prophylaxis of endocarditis in penicillin allergic patients. See, commonly it is given for teenagers who get acne. So if the condition is mild, you can give a topical preparation. Then if it is severe, you can give an oral dose for adults, that is 150 to 300 mg every 3 hours. In Pneumocystis carinii pneumonia in AIDS, you combine clindamycin with primaquine and the dose it prolongs for about 21 days. Dose here is clindamycin 300 to 450 mg QID orally plus primaquine 30 mg, a combination of these both for about 21 days. Then in AIDS patients with Toxoplasma encephalitis, you give it for 6 weeks in combination with pyrimethamine. So oral clindamycin 600 mg QID plus pyrimethamine 75 mg per day orally for about 6 weeks. So once again, let's see the uses. For anaerobic infections caused by Bacteroides fragilis and staphylococcal and streptococcal infections. For prophylaxis of endocarditis in penicillin allergic patients. Then in acne, for mild acne, it is applied topically, and for severe condition, an oral dose of 150 to 300 mg every 6 hourly. Then in Pneumocystis carinii pneumonia in AIDS, you give clindamycin in combination with primaquine. Clindamycin 300 to 450 mg QID orally plus primaquine 30 mg for about 21 days. Then in AIDS patients with Toxoplasma encephalitis, it is given for 6 weeks. Oral clindamycin 600 mg QID plus pyrimethamine 75 mg per day orally. Adverse effects. So this is an important adverse effect: clindamycin associated diarrhea and pseudomembranous colitis. Okay. Here, whenever this occurs, you have to stop giving clindamycin, and then you should give them either metronidazole or vancomycin to treat that particular diarrhea or mainly for pseudomembranous colitis. You prefer giving metronidazole or vancomycin. You could discontinue clindamycin and give metronidazole or vancomycin. Then high IV doses may cause neuromuscular blockade, just like aminoglycosides. And hypersensitivity reactions can occur. So this adverse effects are clindamycin associated diarrhea and pseudomembranous colitis. High IV doses may cause neuromuscular blockade and hypersensitivity reactions can occur. So that is about lincosamides. Then coming to the next one, ketolites. So in this only we have two groups of drugs, telithromycin and cethromycin. The main mechanism of action is similar to macrolides. The main use is we give them for macrolide resistant strains, and the infection we use them for is community acquired pneumonia. So it's just that, as simple as that. So drugs in this group are telithromycin and cethromycin. So these are designed for activity against microorganisms responsible for community acquired respiratory tract infections. Then telithromycin is a semi-synthetic derivative of erythromycin, just like clarithromycin and azithromycin, and they are which confers sensitivity to macrolide resistant strains. So whenever organism is macrolide resistant, you can give ketolites, especially if it is causing a community acquired respiratory tract infection. Then mechanism of action is similar to macrolides. Pharmacokinetics and antimicrobial spectrum. Their oral bioavailability is very good, so they can be given orally, widely distributed, metabolized in the liver, and excreted in bile and urine. These also exhibit post-antibiotic effect like azithromycin. So we've seen that azithromycin exhibits post-antibiotic effect. So here ketolites as well exhibit post-antibiotic effect. PAE is post-antibiotic effect. Then they are active against erythromycin resistant gram-positive cocci, gram-negative cocci, gram-negative bacilli, and some anaerobes. See where it is indicated. So as we have seen, it is indicated for macrolide resistant community acquired pneumonia. Dose is 800 mg once daily orally for 10 days. Adverse effects are diarrhea and nausea can occur. Like erythromycin, it refers to telithromycin. So telithromycin also inhibits CYP3A4 isoenzyme. So used for community acquired pneumonia, macrolide resistant community acquired pneumonia. Then 800 mg once daily for 10 days orally. Adverse effects are diarrhea and nausea, and it also exhibits drug interactions because it inhibits CYP3A4 isoenzyme. Then cethromycin, this is still in the trial stage. It is undergoing, it has cleared the phase 3 stage of clinical trials. So there are 4 phases as we know. So it has cleared the stage 3 clinical trial, phase 3 clinical trial. It is more potent than telithromycin, and it is useful against macrolide resistant strains, but not against macrolide resistant MRSA. So this MRSA, it's a highly drug resistant Staphylococcus aureus. So for this, we prefer giving oxazolidinones and streptogramins. Okay. So till here, they are not active against MRSA. So this cethromycin also, it is useful for macrolide resistant strains, but not against macrolide resistant MRSA. So coming to the next most important, these are high-end antibiotics. They are reserved for highly drug resistant organisms. So in this, we have linezolid, radasolid, furazolid, and tedazolid. So linezolid is used commonly. The rest of them are the drugs which come under the second generation. They are the newer drugs. So these are useful when the organism develops resistance to linezolid. Okay. A mechanism of action. See here, they inhibit protein synthesis by preventing the formation of initiation complex. So this mechanism, till now, macrolides, lincosamides, and ketolides, they had the same mechanism of action. That is, they bind to the P site of the 50S ribosomal subunit and prevent protein synthesis. So here, oxazolidinols, they bind to the A site of the 50S ribosomal subunit and prevent right in the initial step in protein synthesis. They prevent the binding of the amino acid tRNA with the A site. So just I kept this image once again. So here, if you can see, they bind to the A site of the 50S ribosomal subunit. So the very first step in the protein synthesis is inhibited, that is the binding of the tRNA, that the incoming tRNA with the new amino acid and coming and binding to the A site. Okay, so that is prevented because they bind to the A site in the 50S ribosomal subunit. Pharmacokinetics, this has a very good oral bioavailability. It's almost equal to the bioavailability of parenteral administration. So oral bioavailability is almost 100%. So you can give it orally, and food does not interfere with the absorption. Okay, it is metabolized in the liver and excreted in the urine. T-half is 4 to 6 hours, and this also exhibits post-antibiotic effect that lasts for 1.5 hours. So uses again. So these are active against only multi-drug resistant gram-positive bacteria because they are affluxed out by the gram-negative organisms. So they are active against multi-drug resistant gram-positive bacteria. So used against infections caused by VRE. VRE is vancomycin resistant Enterococcus faecium and MRSA. MRSA is methicillin resistant Staph aureus. Also, they are used for complicated skin infections called from MRSA and penicillin resistant Streptococcus pyogenes. Next one is community acquired pneumonia caused by Staph aureus and MRSA. These are also active against some gram-positive bacilli, and it has been approved for pediatric use and diabetic foot infections. Dose is 600 mg BD, oral or IV. So once again, let's go through the uses. So mainly used for multi-drug resistant gram-positive bacteria, that is the VRE, MRSA. VRE is vancomycin resistant Enterococcus faecium and MRSA. Then complicated skin infections caused by MRSA and penicillin resistant Streptococcus pyogenes. Then community acquired pneumonia caused by Staph aureus and MRSA. These are also active against some gram-positive bacilli, approved for pediatric use and diabetic foot infections. Dose is 600 mg BD, oral or IV. So these are the uses of linezolid. The adverse effects here are thrombocytopenia and neutropenia, mainly reversible. It is reversible. So when you stop the drug, it comes back to the normal state. So reversible thrombocytopenia and neutropenia, and it causes optic neuropathy as well. Then diarrhea, headache, taste alteration, and oral candidiasis are some minor side effects. Important ones are reversible thrombocytopenia, neutropenia, and optic neuropathy. So try to remember them. So linezolid, what are the drug interactions? Linezolid may lead to cheese reaction. See, cheese reaction has already been explained. I'll explain once again. As it is a reversible inhibitor of monoamine oxidase enzyme. So linezolid is an inhibitor of monoamine oxidase enzyme. What is cheese reaction? So whenever we consume tyramine-rich foods, in general it does not apply to all. So whenever a person is taking a drug which inhibits the monoamine oxidase enzyme, he is consuming tyramine-rich foods like banana, yogurt. So what happens then? Tyramine is an indirectly acting sympathomimetic. So that is taken up by the adrenergic neurons. So there it enters into the synaptic vesicles, then it displaces the noradrenaline present in the synaptic vesicles, and the noradrenaline is released from the neuron. So this noradrenaline causes a hypertensive episode because it has a vasoconstrictor effect. So now normally this tyramine is metabolized by monoamine oxidase enzyme in the body. But when you're taking a drug which inhibits monoamine oxidase enzyme, tyramine is not metabolized. Okay. So linezolid is an inhibitor of monoamine oxidase. So this monoamine oxidase, since it is inhibited, it cannot inhibit tyramine, cannot metabolize tyramine. So tyramine is causing a indirect hypertensive episode by displacing noradrenaline from the adrenergic neuron. So that is what we call cheese reaction. Then it can also precipitate serotonin syndrome. See, when linezolid is taken along with SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors like fluoxetine, that leads to accumulation of 5-HT in the synaptic cleft. 5-HT is nothing but serotonin. Accumulation of serotonin in the synaptic cleft that precipitates a serotonin syndrome. It is characterized by hyperthermia, tremors, muscle rigidity. Okay. So these are important drug interactions with oxazolidinose, linezolid, cheese reaction, and serotonin syndrome. So radasolid, torazolid, tedazolid, these are second generation oxazolidinone. So when you give them, so whenever resistance develops to linezolid, these are more potent than linezolid, nearly 4 to 6-fold more active against Staphylococci, Enterococci, and anaerobes, and they have lower rates of myelosuppression and neurotoxicity. See, again, these are used against strains which have become resistant to linezolid. The miscellaneous drugs are spectinomycin. So spectinomycin is bacteriostatic. So that is, it prevents the replication of bacteria. How does this act? So this comes under miscellaneous antibiotics. So this binds to the 30S ribosome and it inhibits the bacterial protein synthesis. So till now we've seen that the antimicrobial agents, they bind to the 50S ribosomal subunit. So here spectinomycin, it binds to the 30S ribosomal subunit and inhibits bacterial protein synthesis. So this is not cidal, it is basically bacteriostatic. So this is mainly used to treat drug-resistant gonorrhea. Dose is 2 gram IM single dose. So remember, the drug for gonorrhea is a drug-resistant gonorrhea is spectinomycin. Dose is 2 gram IM single dose. Adverse effects are injection site pain, chills, fever, anemia, hepatic and renal impairment. Then coming to the next group of miscellaneous antibiotics, streptogramins. So this is the last group we'll discuss today. The rest we will discuss along with urinary tract infection chapter. That is polypeptide antibiotics, mupirocin and fusidic acid. So under streptogramin we have pristinamycin. So that is a combination, it is a ratio of 30:70 ratio of quinupristin and dalfopristin. Available as a combination in 30:70 ratio. Then this exhibits rapid bactericidal effects on gram-positive organisms. Mechanism of action is, see, since there are two drugs in this, quinupristin binds to the same site on the 50S ribosome as erythromycin, whereas dalfopristin binds to the adjacent site, and both of them together exhibit a synergistic action. So that is, they prevent the extrusion of the polypeptide chain from the ribosome. So in other words, they are affecting the protein, or they're preventing the exclusion of the protein chain from the ribosome. See, quinupristin binds to the same site on the 50S ribosome as erythromycin, whereas dalfopristin, it binds to an adjacent site and exhibits synergistic action. So their synergistic action is preventing the exclusion of the polypeptide chain from the ribosome. So this is used as a reserve drug for multi-drug resistant nosocomial gram-positive infections like MRSA, BRSA, BRE, but not Enterococcus faecalis. So here if you see, oxazolidinones and streptogramins, they are used for multi-drug resistant gram-positive organisms like MRSA, methicillin resistant Staph BRSA is vancomycin resistant Staph aureus, BRE is vancomycin resistant Enterococcus, but not Enterococcus faecalis. Administered by IV infusion over 60 minutes in a dose of 7.5 mg per day, 7.5 mg per kg every 8 to 12 hours. Both are metabolized in the liver and excreted in the feces. So this combination also has a prolonged post-antibiotic effect. They also inhibit CYP3A4 and exhibit drug interactions. Adverse effect is muscle, joint and injection site pain is the common adverse effect. So we have discussed about macrolides, ketolides, lincosamides, oxazolidinones, and amongst miscellaneous drugs we have discussed about spectinomycin and streptogramins, pristinamycin. So please go through all these drugs once again, and then in the next class we will discuss about polypeptide antibiotics, mupirocin, fusidic acid and urinary tract infection, urinary antiseptics. Okay? What are the antiseptics which are used in the treatment of urinary tract infection? Thank you.